So here I am again, appropriating other cultures because, well, to be honest, I don't want to spend money going to restaurants that aren't very good when I know the food can be better and I can make it better. So, you know, some people could say, oh, you're appropriating their culture. I'll say, fuck off. I'm making the food I like, and I'm making it better than most places you will ever go to. What I have here is I have 30 shallots, 1 pound of ginger. Let's bring it over to the oven. So what I have here already is pork rib and chicken carcass, chicken bones. The carcass, it's a whole raw carcass. And what I have here is beef calf thigh, or tendon. This is technically tendon. This is the beef calf, and it's a tendon. So it's about 4 pounds, 5 pounds of it. And here I have my beef bones, all 9 pounds of beef bones, all these marrow bones as they call them. You always go to an Asian market because the Asian market always has a better price. You go to a butcher, you're going to pay $5 a pound. I did not pay no $5 a pound. So, see, yummy, nice up close, huh? So I'm cutting the bag open now. Bag's cut open. See that? That's good stuff. That's real good stuff. And this, I'm going to slice this into 2-inch thick pieces, and we'll get going in a sec. So I got this big 6-gallon pot. Yes, it is 6 gallons. I'm filling it up about 25%, maybe 30% with water. Why? Because I'm going to boil the bones. These bones right there, they're going to get boiled for 10 minutes. So I got to fill it up. Why do I boil the bones? What's the importance of boiling the bones? Is there an important factor in boiling my bones? Well, yes, there is. See, these bones here have a whole bunch of dirt and sediment built onto them because when they butcher them, they don't clean them. If they use a steamer to clean them off, that'd be great, but it's too expensive. So 25, we're about 30% now. So now we're going to carry it, without hopefully dropping it, over to the stovetop. We're going to light the fire. We're going to bring it to a boil. Okay, it's a big pot. Okay, boiling the bones gets all that dirt, sediment, broken fragments of bone, all that kind of stuff off of the bone. Anything that's loose, that doesn't belong, it gets rid of it. It also helps loosen up the marrow and any tendons left on there. That's good stuff because we need that for the flavor and the texture, the silkiness, the smoothness. This is my beef flavor. This is all your beef flavor right here. I use tendon because tendon usually gives a really robust flavor. Some people like using other things for a slightly different flavor. Well, you want that slightly different flavor. Again, that's why I get my chicken and my pork rib. Sometimes I use pork bones, like the femur bone. No, I'm using the ribs because ribs got meat and I want to get a little bit of the meat flavor out of it. So I enjoy that. So we're going to pick up when I start toasting the spices. Doing what? Toasting my spices. So I took the meat, like I said, I was going to cut up. I cut it up into 2-inch thick slices. It's got tendon on one side, yummy meat on the other. It's gorgeous meat. Look at this. Gorgeous. It's about 2.5 pounds right here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to wrap this up and use this for maybe a stir fry or something. Maybe I'll use it for a different soup, who knows. But that's that. I'm about to boil the bones now. Let's see how that's going. Water is just starting to come to a boil. It's really not boiling yet, so I'm going to give it another couple of minutes. Alright, judging from the steam that you should be able to see, we are rapidly boiling. So the best way to do this really is just to dump it all in one shot. So using one hand, see if I can do that without dumping the plastic in there. And I did. Got that? So the bones are now in. Time is set for 10 minutes. The stuff roasting in the oven needs another maybe 20 minutes. It's all going well. This is the reason you're supposed to boil it. See that scuzz? There's only one word that I've heard Asians use to describe that. They call that the scum. Ah! Oh well. And yeah, it's pretty nasty. You don't want that in your soup. It will make your soup foggy. You want your soup to be pristine looking and clear. Although it's going to be dark colored because of what we're going to season it with. The broth itself is, generally speaking, it's a clear broth. So you definitely want to get rid of this. This is nasty. So I put them all on the side once I fish them out. So now you see all that soap, well, soap, you see all that scum sitting there. That's soap and scum, I know it goes together. You see all that scum sitting there on top, all nasty. Yeah, it's not soup. Doesn't even smell like soup. So I'm just gonna, it's not even stock. I'm just gonna go ahead and dump it. So there we go, say bye-bye. Oh, bye-bye. It's all nasty. Really just not stuff you want in your pot. So now I'm going to scrub the pot. So now we have a nice clean pot again. The trick now is to fill up the pot quickly. So I'm shooting for 3 gallons. So I'm going to put 4 gallons of water in. So I want 3 gallons of soup, 4 gallons of water. I boil out about a gallon's worth of water. That's how I condense. And it usually takes anywhere from 16 to 24 hours at the rate I go. So let's find the measuring tool. This is for demonstration purposes. I'm not going to be using tap water. Okay, 1 quart filled up. 1 quart is 4 cups of water, 32 ounces. I'm using this bowl as a demo. So by filling this container, this metal container, up to the very top, I am getting 1 gallon of water. So let's begin. I have to fill that up 4 times. So I put all my marrow bones into these cheesecloth bags that I picked up on Amazon. I got a dozen for $10. So they barely fit, as you can see, but I'll make them fit. That's not the problem. Obviously, I made that one fit. I'm going to have 3 bags for marrow bones. And my tendon already cut up. Put in here my 2-inch piece. I'm going to tie that up. Anyway, these have all been roasted. The shallots are super soft, and that means they're super sweet. They smell delicious. Ginger has been roasted. They're tender and juicy. Everything's cooling down right now. It's been cooling for about 10-15 minutes. The chicken has been roasted. No seasoning, no nothing. Doesn't need it. You can technically eat it like this, and it's delicious. Chicken has its own natural sodium. So anything you add is just enhancing that flavor. So you really don't ever want to overdo chicken. Unless you really know what you're doing, you're going to make something special out of it. This is a good chicken I picked out. It's got the skin, and the skin's always going to add flavor. It's got the neck. The neck is nice. As you can see, I don't know what the hell that is. So, and then I got my pork bone right here. My pork bone, take a little piece. Absolutely incredible. I think it's going to add flavor. So it is currently 8:30 in the morning, and we've had this stewing in the pot for 15 hours. What we have in here is all the lovely pork femur bones, the marrow bones. We have the meat, the beef tendon, the chicken bones, and the pork bones, or the chicken carcass and the pork bones. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing it. And next we're going to introduce the root vegetables and the toasted spices. Yeah. Alright, so now comes the toasting with the spices. So what we have going on is we have mainly 3 spices. There's really 5. One of them not going to do on the scale because it doesn't need to be done on the scale. The one I'm not going to do at all is the coriander, because it's just a quantity of how many coriander seeds you're using. Technically, it's 3 to 6 coriander seeds, so I don't need to measure that the same way. But with my star anise needs to be 14 grams. So let's tear that. Tearing means to put it to 0. And we pour in our star anise, and we got between 14 and 15 grams, which is fine. We can go over, that's okay. Tear. Now we have our cloves. Cloves need to be 18, that's correct. Okay, now comes our coriander. Coriander. Do a quick tear. We have 10. I believe we're supposed to have a little bit. So we got the coriander at 10. I verified it is supposed to be 10. So we have the right quantities for all our spices. So take our spices, dump them all into one bowl. The one thing we're not dumping in here is the cinnamon. And when you see the cinnamon, you'll understand why. So let's get to the cinnamon. Excuse me. The cinnamon we have is Asian cinnamon. They do have a type of cinnamon, which is Vietnamese cinnamon, which is slightly smaller. But I like using the Asian cinnamon because it's bigger. I can get more flavor out of it. It's a slightly different flavor from the Vietnamese cinnamon, which is called cassia. As you can see, this just says cinnamon. Cinnamon. Okay, so we're using whole cinnamon. Now, I'm not going to add the cinnamon here because our toasting process, you cannot add the cinnamon because it just doesn't fit in the pan. Actually, if I use my jumbo-sized frying pan, it will fit in the pan. I'm going to heat up my frying pan. I usually use my iron, not a cast iron. I have a big iron pan. I mean, these are monster pans. These are big, heavy iron pans. But I'm not going to use them because I'm not in the mood to use them. So I'll take my cinnamon. Look how big these cinnamon sticks are. They're as big as my hand. I mean, that's pretty big. 1, 2, 3. I mean, these are massive cinnamon sticks. This is a big ramen bowl. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's massive. I mean, I could fit like 4 bags of 4 bags of instant noodles in those. They're massive. So that's just giving you an idea. Each cinnamon stick is about 8 inches long. Well, yeah, about 8 inches long. And they're about an inch, that's about an inch wide. So, or in diameter. So that's a really big piece of cinnamon. So, what you have to do with the cinnamon is you have to break it up without spilling all the other ingredients out like that. Now that I have all my spices combined, the cinnamon's all broken up, I'm gonna go ahead, bring it over to the hot pan. I'm gonna toast it. The cloves are the first thing to start changing color. When the cloves start looking ashy, you can see the smoke. When it's hot, I don't recommend using a hand like this, but I've done it so many times it doesn't make a difference. Literally, I've done it close to 100 times. I've made my soup close to 100 times. It is absolutely my favorite soup. There's no question about that. Ramen comes in a close second, along with Jewish-style chicken soup, the Italian wedding soup. But this is absolutely my favorite. Okay, the crackling's a good sign. Also means you have to lower your heat. The cinnamon doesn't get toasted very well like this, which is why I usually like to toast the cinnamon separately. But as long as you get some heat, it's gonna bring out a special flavor. Yeah, I know, I'm making you dizzy. Like popcorn, baby, like popcorn. Okay, you can see the clove there is starting to turn color, comparatively. That's good. That's our toasting process. That's how you know it's getting toasted. When you see the clove starts turning into an ash, that's the outside scorching. Just the outside. You have to keep it in motion, otherwise you will burn it and you will have to get more spices and start all over. Some people like toasting each spice separately. I get that. You get to keep an eye on everything, make sure everything toasts properly. But my coriander is toasting because coriander is a pale color originally. See, that's my coriander. And let's look at the coriander in here. It's turning brown already. That's how they're toasting. When you get the smoke coming up, that's wonderful. The cinnamon's barely warm. Some of them are pretty hot. Also, the star anise. It's hard to make that turn color. So, take the bowl, put it over there. Bless you. And pour it all in. Toasted spices. Got that. Next up, we're going to bag it up, put it in with the root vegetables after we pull the bones and the carcasses and the meat. Alright, so now we're going to remove the bones, the meat, the carcass, the ribs. So now we have a heavy meat stock. So go ahead, remove all this. If we tasted this now, it would just taste like very murky-ish meat. So, let's go ahead and test that theory. There's a lot of fat layers floating on top, so you gotta be careful not to get a mouthful of fat. Yeah, it's very meaty flavored. Very meaty flavored. That's I believe this is the meat. Let's take a look at the meat. So I opened up the bag that has the beef tendon. Okay, took a couple of these pieces out so you can take a peek. So this is what it looks like when you first pull it out. Now the question is it really cooked? Is it cooked fully? Well, the answer is simple. You want to make sure it's fall apart. What they call fork tender or beyond. So let's make sure it is. I know my camera action sucks, right? It just tears right open with a spoon. Alright, it's going to have almost no flavor, just meat flavor. Throw a little salt on it. This way I'll have a little flavor. Okay. Okay, now it tastes like it's salted. Again, salted meat, yum. Okay, so the thing is that we're going to want this to taste like the pho. So in order to do that, this will be the only thing that's going back in. I like salted meat. This is the only thing that's going. This bag will be going back in once the spices go in, and the vegetables. So we're going to take everything out, retie this, toss it back in, and we should have, because we do want this as part of our pho. A very big, very important thing. Alright? So let's go ahead, I'm going to take out all the bags. Okay, got all the bags out. I'm going to take the meat, throw it back in. My wife's going to kill me because I just cleaned the stove and now I splashed everything all over it. Even up on the microwave. Root vegetables going in. Sink, baby, sink. Don't worry, it will sink. All the toasted spices have been bagged up. And now they're all tied up. And they get dropped in. Sink! Go! No! Root vegetables. Drown. Okay. Next step is put the lid back on. Gotta turn the heat up a considerable amount. Gotta bring it to a full boil at this point. That's it. What we have in here now is the beef tendon, the root vegetables, and all the toasted spices. It's currently 9:35. Yes, I've wasted a little bit of time since, the past hour. So 9:35, so we're going to be looking at about 6 hours. Maybe 8 hours. So we're going to go 8 hours of the spices. The one trick is that we're going to do 6 hours and then 2 hours at the end. We're going to have to put in the last bit of seasoning. Yes, you have to add seasoning. The seasoning is good. Okay, we're ready for the next phase. It is almost 12. So this will have a good 5 hours to simmer once it's all done. So what we have here is we have mushroom seasoning. What is mushroom seasoning? That's mushroom seasoning. It says mushroom seasoning. And of course you can see it's Vietnamese. It's imported. So let's read what mushroom seasoning is. But strangely enough, it's from Taiwan. Let's try to unfold the packet so you can read it. The ingredients say mushroom powder, salt, mushroom extract. It lasts 30 months. It doesn't last 30 months around here. Anyway, this stuff it's like an umami. It really is. It's like, instead of using MSG to replace the flavor and the salt, you use salt and mushroom seasoning. It adds something really incredible. I can't even put my finger on it. I've actually added it to other foods, and it works really well. Sauces, gravies, it's pretty intense flavor. Not like strong, but intense on how it jazzes up. It's an umami. It really is. Okay, so I got my mushroom seasoning. I have my fish sauce. It's only one kind of fish sauce I like to use. Supposedly I could use the squid brand, but this tastes better. And then I got my sea salt. It's gotta be sea salt. If you don't use sea salt, you're screwing it. Don't ever use kosher salt in this. You gotta use sea salt. So, lids off. Let's start with the fish sauce. Oh. See how much it's boiled down already? That gallon I told you about, it's gone. Now I'm gonna add my sea salt. Now I'm gonna add my mushroom seasoning. You have to give me a sec. Now, got my ladle. I'm going to start just stirring it gently. Stirring it gently. Stirring it gently. I know, right? This isn't very gentle, is it? I'm just stirring it. Stirring it because I really want some. Aggressive. Okay, I'm going to taste it. Shouldn't have the full flavor, but should have some flavor. Oh, it definitely has that some flavor. And let it sit for 5 hours. It'll come to full maturity. So I emptied out all the bones. Here's the marrow bones. Yes, I emptied all the marrow and all the cartilage out. Here's the chicken bones, or the carcass, what's left of it, which is not much, and the pork. This is, like I said, about 14 hours in the pot. You can easily pull the meat off the bone, and if you're not careful, it actually falls apart on you, like it is now. So this is just very tender. It's not seasoned. You can still eat it. Probably need to throw a little salt on it. But it all just comes right off very easily. So you got a little bit of a snack going on between the marrow, the cartilage, and the pork meat. I've tried using the pork meat in the soup, you know, when I have a final dish, but it's not as tasty. That's why, you know, just the tendon is good. But this is fantastic. Look at that. It's like a cavern. Look at that. Hello in there. Any bears? Bears, bears. The bears are calling you. All nice and empty. Stripped down. And the soup is still stewing away. Got another 4 hours on that. Okay, so as I said, I removed the bag of spices. I removed the root vegetables, and I removed the beef tendons after I went for a second round of bathing, but this time it had the spices in it. So this way it gets the flavor of the spices too. So after doing that, I let it sit in this metal bowl, and you can see you have a lot of broth built up. Now, one of the big tricks is you got to squeeze out the packet of meat and the spice and the root vegetables a lot, because you got to get all that yumminess out. You got to get all that extra liquid out. Now, I squeezed out spices, there's only so much you can squeeze out. They're dried spices. They don't soak up much. They're just releasing more than they're absorbing. So the root vegetables, this one, is the trick. With the root vegetables, there's going to be a lot of squeezing involved. You're going to have to let it sit for at least an hour to cool down, unless you think you could tough it out. You want to introduce this back into the big pot. People are like, nah, you just use it. No. You got to introduce it back to the big pot. And there's a really good reason why. When you squeeze out the root vegetables, it's ginger and shallots. They sweeten up a lot. And a lot of that sweetness stays inside the root vegetables. So what you want to do is you want to get that sweetness squeezed out as much as possible and add that natural sweetness from the root vegetables back into your broth. You're going to say, well, it's not going to give me that much. It's only going to give me 1 cup compared to how many cups do I have in there? Oh, yeah, 32, maybe more. Yeah, what's that going to... It's really sweet. It's like a massively overpowering sweetness if you taste it just as is. Yeah. See, still... And I've already squeezed it out once. See? Look at this ginger. Look at what color the ginger turned. Let's look at the ginger's original color real quick. Let's go run over and look. Wrapped up in the plastic, that's the ginger. Here's what it looks like now. Okay, got that? The ginger changes color dramatically. Okay? Now you also have to remember, these are cheesecloth. These are white when you first start off. It didn't turn this color until maybe 3rd, 4th time making this. Then it just gently gets darker and darker as you go along. It gets dark. That's how you know you're making a lot of really good soups, when it just keeps changing colors on you. Watch, I'll squeeze out the meat. It's got some dribble going on. You don't want to squeeze out the meat too much because then you dry it out and it starts becoming more brittle and you can't enjoy the chunks of the tendon. So the root vegetables is where it's at. You can see it's like a river. So there's a lot of squeezing involved. So after removing all the contents of the tendon, yes, that's all the flavor I wanted. I have roughly 2.5 pounds, maybe less, maybe 2 pounds now, after all the cartilage and the tendon and the fat all melted away. Maybe even less than 2 pounds, but it's 2 pounds of tendon, these chunks. And oh yeah, you add them to your soup. It's some incredible stuff. So that's pretty much what I have left of this. So I'm defrosting some sliced meat to put in there. I don't have much else. I don't have, any of the stomach lining or anything like that. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to go nuts looking for cilantro or anything. I'm just into the... You have to soak the bags, by the way. You gotta soak your bags. Hot water, very hot. Dish soap, let them soak for a good 15 minutes, and you have to scrub them out like old school on a washboard. You have to really scrub them out. You gotta get those oils out. You're not gonna get rid of the scent. You're stuck with the scent. It will smell like that forever now. But given the spices, who cares?
So here we are. Let everything cool down. It's very cool to the touch now. We're quite literally a step away or 2 steps away from being finished. We have here the big old pot set on the table. We have a 2-cup scooper, and I have lots of soup containers, 2 quarts each. Since 2 quarts is basically 4 cups, I'm gonna have to scoop twice, like so. 1, it's gonna drip a lot, so I'm gonna be just demonstrating this once. Then I'm gonna be setting the phone down using 2 hands and doing this properly. This way I can get it done fast. See how much it's making a mess? I don't want that mess, so you guys are gonna have to deal with not seeing how I do this really fast, and just trust me when I tell you I get this done quick. Okay? And then I hang it up on the side, take my sponge, wipe up the mess, because I don't do this one-handed usually. So I'm gonna do that. I'm guessing I have 3.5 gallons, but we'll see when I'm done. So next we're gonna see when I'm done. So now we can see that the pot is empty. I finished my job. This cup is very greasy looking because we have a lot of coagulated grease, a lot of cooled off fat. No drippage anywhere. I was pretty cool about it, and I separated everything into groups. 4 quarts is 1 gallon, so we have 1, 2, 3 gallons, slightly under, well, slightly more than 3.5 gallons, because that's, oh, we got that, and we got about a pint extra out of it. So we got 3.5 gallons, like I guessed. I was pretty on the money with this. So we got 3.5 gallons plus 2 cups. That's not bad. So if you take a good look, if you got a side angle, you see the fat's already starting to separate. Now we need to defat it completely. There's only one way to do that. We don't wait for the fat to separate. We don't do that. There's no way that's going to work well. My missus has a great little device that separates fat from gravy, but it's going to be too wasteful when it comes to this soup, so we don't use that either. What we do is we put the covers on these. We put them in the fridge for about 4 hours. The fat becomes one big solid. So when we get a nice solid disc from it, we take it and we discard it. We don't need that fat disc. Normally when it's cool or cold outside, like I'm talking when the temperature drops at nighttime below 50 degrees, I just take the whole pot, I put it outside, threw a big brick on top of it so a raccoon or a possum cannot get to it. I just leave it there overnight, and the next day you have one massive solid disc of fat sitting on top, and that's awesome. That's the regarding just peeling it off, it's the word satisfying comes to mind. It's almost as satisfying as peeling your skin after sunburn goes away. It's really that incredibly satisfying. So with this, as you can see, we're nearly done. We got the last 3. Technically it's 2.5. So here I have 8 of them. 9. I have 9 containers. I have the other containers in the inside fridge. I was able to make some room, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, this fridge is a mess also, but this is a garage fridge, so I really don't care. So here we have, it's been sitting for at least 8 hours in the fridge. I'm removing the fat. You can see the fat is just easy to pull off. So just gently pull off the fat. Save yourself the soup. Nice. Get all that fat off. You don't need to eat that fat. It's actually a mouthful of nastiness. Get it off the edges also. As much as you can get off. And we go to the next one, which is right here. Yucky fat. I got like 12 more of these to do, so we'll take a look at the finished product. Let's get rid of the fat. Say bye-bye. Don't need any of this. But like I said, put it in the fridge after it all finishes up. The fat will melt. Melt very nicely. Right in the sink. And that's it. Remove your fat and we'll pick up in a sec. There is every now and then, from time to time, when you go for it, you get the whole thing of fat in one shot. Doesn't happen often, but if your fridge is cold enough, sometimes you can do it in the freezer, but you have to let it thaw out afterwards so you can get the fat up. You got that. Get the whole thing in one shot. That's a good way to get it. One of the more important things you're going to find out after you defat all of
your containers, and I have 14 containers, is when you look at the bottom of the container, compare it to the top, your fat's going to the top, you have your broth. What's that stuff? That's not fat. The bulk of your fat comes from the bottom of the pot. You get some at the top, which gives you a thicker film when you chill it, and everything from the bottom of the pot creates the heavier, thick film, which is only going to give you about maybe 25% of your really thick ones. It will give you those big hearty discs of fat that you can remove easily. The rest of them are kind of thin. But this stuff is not fat. Swirl it, shake it up, and it's gone. But you take another container, you look at it before you shake it up, and it sits there. See that? I shake it up, it's gone. What is that? Microsolids. Microsolids are solids that boil down so severely that they break apart and become microsolids, and they pass through the cheesecloth into your broth. There's nothing wrong with it. They're perfectly fine. But let's see what microsolids do. I have to find one. Here, I found the perfect one with microsolids. This one. Let's see what the microsolids are all about. Microsolids, another term for it, is the sediment. They broke down, it's basically the beef and the herbs and the spices. They boiled down to such an umpteenth degree that they've passed through the cheesecloth. They're fine to drink. They enhance the flavor. My recommendation is to get that full spice effect. Mix up your container before you start serving, or before you start reheating it. This way, you get all the sediment flavor back into your soup. Without that, you're going to be missing some, well, you probably won't be missing the flavor, but it's always better to have more flavor. Just my thoughts. 14 containers. 8 on the bottom, 6 on top. Of course, like I said, I had half a container for myself. Yum, yum, yum. So, this is an excellent yield. That's 3.5 gallons right there. Not bad. So, I got just 3 gallons into the freezer. Obviously, we have a lot of stuff in this freezer right now. So, now I have to load the freezer with all the other stuff that I removed. So that'll take me a minute to finish that off. As I said, it wasn't going to be a crazy complex dinner. It was just the ribeye slices, beef tendon balls, the noodles, and the pho. Yum.